Hi everyone. We're going to work on some fraction operations today. So we're going to be adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing with fractions. So with this first one, we've got 1/2 plus 1/3. So remember, we've got to have common denominators whenever we add or subtract with fractions. And one way that we can do that is to multiply the two denominators. So I'm going to multiply 3 times 2 to get 6. And remember, whatever I do to the denominator, I have to do the same thing to the numerator to keep it equivalent. So it'd be like multiplying it by 1. So since 3 times 2 gives me 6, I have to multiply the 1 times 2. So that gives me 2 6, so that's equivalent to 1/3. And then 3 times 2 gives me 6, so I'd multiply the 1 times 3. So now I've got 3 6 plus 2 6, so I've got common denominators. So that gives me 5 6. So that's going to be adding fractions. And then remember, at the beginning of the year we did multiplying with fractions. And this one is actually one that I think is the easiest, because whenever you're multiplying, you don't have to find common denominators or anything like that. You just have to multiply the numerators and multiply the denominators. So if I had 2/3 times 1/4, I would multiply 2 times 1 and get 2, and then 3 times 4 to get 12. So that gives me 2/12. And then if I multiply a fraction by a whole number, let's say I had 2/3 times 3, then I would change the whole number into a fraction by putting a 1 underneath it. So 3 over 1 is the same as 3. And I just do the same thing. I multiply the numerators. 2 times 3 is 6. Multiply the denominators. 3 times 1 would give me 3. So 6/3 is going to be equal to 2, because 6 divided by 3 gives me 2. So that's how we multiply with fractions. Now, I'm not going to do a separate subtraction problem, but I'm going to go back to this one. And you have to get common denominators when you're subtracting. So the only difference would be, here I've already got my common denominator, so 3 6 minus 2 6. Now I just subtract the numerators, and I keep the denominator the same. So I keep the unit the same. So if I had 3 6 and I take away 2 6, I'd have 1 6. So adding and subtracting, work the same way. We get common denominators. We just have to multiply the numerators and multiply the denominators whenever we're multiplying with fractions. So with dividing fractions, if I had, hi Luna, I don't know if you can see Luna, but she's always excited to learn some new math. And, she'll be the mystery word today. So Luna is the mystery word. I know she's been the mystery word before, but she gets pretty excited about being the mystery word. I know Lucy is actually close by too, and she's always listening as well. So they're pretty smart. So if I had 4 divided by 1/2, I'm wanting to think about how many halves are in 4. So I can think about first how many halves are in 1. So if I had how many halves are in 1, there's 2. So what I can do is multiply 2 times 4, so that's going to give me 8. So 4 divided by 2, or 4 divided by 1/2 is going to be 8. Now, if I did the opposite and had a 1/2 divided by 4, now I only have a 1/2, and I'm dividing it into 4 parts. So that's going to give me 1/8. So it's going to be even smaller than what I start out with. So those are the main things that we work with fractions. The other thing that you would need to know how to do is to simplify a fraction. So if I had 2/12, what I got up here, if I wanted to simplify this, I look for a common factor between the numerator and denominator. And because they're even, I know that 2 would be a common factor. So if I divide 2 divided by 2, I get 1. 12 divided by 2, I get 6. So remember, to keep equivalent fractions or to simplify fractions, always have to do the same thing to the numerator and denominator. So that gives me 1/6. And then, not all the time you can divide by 2. If I had, let's say I had 4/12, well, I still could divide by 2 on this one, but then I would have to divide again because I'd still end up with even numbers. But if I divide by their greatest common factor of 4, I can get it simplified in one step. So 4 divided by 4 gives me 1. 12 divided by 4 gives me 3. So now at this point, you should know how to add, subtract, multiply, divide with fractions, and then also simplify fractions. So let's say I had 3/12. Now these are not even, so I can't divide by 2, but they do have a common factor of 3. So if I divide them both by 3, 3 divided by 3 is 1, and then 12 divided by 3 gives me 4. So that gives me 1/4 when I simplify. And, let's say that I had, we'll say 3/14. Well, 3/14, there's not any common factors between 3 and 14, so it's going to already be in simplest form. So keep these things in mind, and if you have any questions, let me know.